If you want to shift to a parallel reality, you must become a parallel self that corresponds with that reality. As within, so without. You are not separate from the external world. In fact, you are the external world. Everything in your experience couldn't exist if you were not existing here perceiving it. It would cease to exist. It only exists because of how you exist, okay? So if you want to manifest a completely different reality, if you want a quantum shift into another reality, then you must internally shift to the version of you in that reality first. That's the only way to get there. If you think about the universe as a whole, you probably think that things are the way they are, and you can keep hustling and pushing on this timeline, and it's going to get you to a desired outcome. It's not going to if your desired outcome is on another timeline. Instead, you have to shift to the version of you who's on that timeline. What am I talking about when I say timeline? In the non-physical, okay, let's just zoom this all the way out. You have your spiritual self, your mental self, and your physical self. All of these are just different aspects and levels of consciousness, essentially. There's infinite consciousness, which is God and the source of everything. That is also who we are. Then there is the self-consciousness, which is your being. So that's your mind and your body. That is also who you are, but it's not all that you are. You are not just your physical body. You are consciousness. And the way that you know this is because you can observe your body. You can observe your mind. If you're observing something, that means you're the observer. So you're not just the thing that you're observing. How can you be? There's also another part of you that is observing these things. That is consciousness, which you can't see because you cannot see yourself, okay? Like an eye can't see itself. You cannot see yourself as consciousness, but that is your essence. That is who you truly are, okay? So when we descended into this material reality from the spiritual infinite all that is, this created a split within our being. And you have your higher infinite self and your lower physical self. This physical self tends to get caught in lack and limitation type thinking because this limited physical self tends to forget that you are also a non-physical infinite self. The way that this material world is set up is to instill us with the idea of separation. So when we come here, we are trained with all these ideas that we're separate from the physical, that things just are the way that they are, and that our consciousness is not really our true essence. We just are the way we are. We're going to live and die and disappear, and the world is just a physical thing. No, you didn't just fall out of a coconut tree, honey. Everything is one. We are all connected. We are all just little expressions of source, but we're also the full expression of source as well on some levels. So when we look at consciousness, you can know that you are more than your physical body because your consciousness can expand to everything around you. Just look at out-of-body experiences. I was doing the Gateway Experience, the CIA meditation tapes they're actually on YouTube, and I could feel my consciousness begin to leave my body, right? It can travel, it can astral project, but even it can travel in the form of what you're placing your attention on, which tells you you are so much more than this physical body existing in this time, at this moment, in this dimension. So this brings me to my next fun little point, which is there are infinite parallel realities happening right now all at once. Time is a component in the way that we're experiencing it as this physical experience, okay? So if you were to zoom out and take the perspective of your infinite self, which was above and beyond the material world, you would be able to see all these timelines and all these realities happening all at once. There'd be no time to it. It would be all in one moment. Okay? So if you want to conceptualize this like buildings floors in a building. This is an analogy from the Power of Kabbalah. You, with your human mind and your physical perception of things, you're on the 14th floor of the building, and you can only perceive the 14th floor. So you think that floors 1, 2, 3 all the way to 13 and 15 and beyond don't exist because all you can perceive is the 14th floor. But in the non-physical, if you were to expand your awareness and your consciousness and raise it so that you could see beyond the physical limitations of this physical world, you'd be able to see all the floors existing all at once. That is what I mean when I say parallel realities. Each parallel reality exists as a different section or timeline all at once. Time is not a constraint. It only is a constraint by virtue of us being in this material world. And you can see this, guys, when you look at like super high consciousness people who have transcended a lot of the limitation of this physical world. Some people don't age. People experience time differently. There's a lot of anomalies in how we even experience time. Even if we don't have expanded consciousness, there's so many stories of people experiencing time as passing differently because of their state of being, okay? So get beyond the way that you're thinking. I'm trying to open up your mind here because this is not all it is. No matter how bad your life has been, no matter how stuck you feel, no matter how little money you have, how little success you have, how abandoned, rejected, heartbroken, out of the loop, boring, uninteresting, hopeless you feel right now, that is not the only reality that exists for you. We are not separate from the external world. We are the vessel through which the external can exist. If you weren't here perceiving your external reality, it wouldn't exist in the way that it does. You are the divine creator, okay? Christ exists within you. God exists within you, and God is the ultimate creator. So this is all of these things line up. Science, religion, everything, we're all on the same page. It is your being that is creating things. So you know how silly it is when you're putting things on a pedestal? You're the thing. It is you, and it always has been you. Whatever you're desiring right now is actually something that you're experiencing in a parallel reality. There's a version of you in a version of reality that's already experiencing that thing. You couldn't desire something unless you've already experienced it. Okay? Like a double cheeseburger from McDonald's. You wouldn't crave a double cheeseburger unless you specifically tasted that specific double cheeseburger, then you get that specific craving. You wouldn't know what to crave. So the fact that you are desiring something is a very positive sign because it means you have the potential to experience it. Otherwise, it would never even cross your mind. So it's time to start really opening up your energy and your perception and realizing that you're not desiring things for no reason. You're desiring them because you can experience them, because there is a version of you right now experiencing it already. And all you have to do is become that version, and that thing will become yours. Everything that you think is so scary or difficult or challenging, let's say for example, you want to match up to the reality where you have a successful business. That version of you in that reality does not find it difficult. Maybe they find certain challenges, whatever, but that is natural for them. So in order for you to shift to that reality specifically, you must shift to the person who it feels natural to live in that reality. So let's get into the practical stuff. When we look at the self, you've got your spiritual, which is your energy. Wow, I don't know what happened to my handwriting there. Your mental thoughts and beliefs, basically. And then your physical, which is what you're experiencing with your 5 senses. When we look at the universe as a whole, everything, all of this is just energy. It's consciousness in different forms. And that's made up of atoms and molecules that vibrate at a particular frequency. The whole universe is just an experience of consciousness or energy vibrating at different levels so that it materializes in different densities. For example, we can look at Physical is ice, it's the most dense and it's the most solid in material. Mental is water and spiritual is steam. They are the same thing. They're the same thing, but they're at different rates of vibration. So you see in the physical world what you are. That's what I'm trying to say here. Nothing is random, nothing's outside you. You get and experience exactly what you are in your energy and in your thoughts. That is what materializes things to you. That is what you will experience physically. You can't experience anything outside that. So when we look at you trying to go from timeline A to timeline B, your energy needs to shift and your thoughts need to shift. And the biggest thing within this is going to be your identity. So when you picture who it is you want to be, where you want to be and who it is that's living that, and you can vividly imagine that and act as if you are that person, that's going to start to shift you. But there's going to be three things that get in the way of you actually shifting. The first thing is going to be your identity, your old identity, and all the attachments that come with that identity. The second thing is going to be your logic. And the third thing is going to be your resistance. So let's talk identity first. Essentially, let's do the practice first of you visualizing exactly where you want to go and who you want to be. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Exhale it out. Okay. Picture clearly the reality that you want to be in, your desired reality. Is it a successful business? Is it a certain amount of income? Is it a type of relationship? Is it a place you want to live in? Pick one thing and picture it clearly. See it in a portal in front of you. Now walk towards that portal. Let your body adjust to that energy. And then step through the portal and stand in that experience as if you just climbed into the version of you who's in that experience and that dimension already. You just climbed into their body. Can you feel the difference between you and them? Okay, this is the energy that you must become. This is the identity that you must become. Whatever you're feeling, standing in this version of you, that is who you must be. And immediately I know what's going to happen. Your logic is going to come in and tell you, you can't do it. It's going to tell you it's not possible. Well, let me tell you something. Logic is useless. Your logic of the old version of you is not going to understand how to make this timeline happen. The logic of the new version of you is going to understand. So there is no use in believing or feeding into any logic that's coming from the old version. They have no answers for you. They're not going to know. All you have to rely on is your imagination, your intuition, your creativity. And you must keep reminding yourself that you are the creator. Everything exists because of you. So you don't need to figure out how or look outside you for evidence. That is redundant. It's a waste of your energy. You're giving your energy and power away when you do that and you feed into logic and evidence and how and what and where and when, wasting your energy and your creative force. All that matters is that you're creating it within. That will overcome any physical block or circumstance or anything in front of you. Even when we look at the brain, we've got the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. And there's a story in the Bible where the disciples cast the net to the left side of the boat, which is the logic left hemisphere side of the brain, and they drew up no fish. And Jesus said, cast your nets to the right, and they drew up so much fish they actually couldn't pull the net up. The right hemisphere of the brain is your Christ consciousness. It's where you are closest to your infinite self. It's where your creative power is. Your left hemisphere is rooted in your physical external world and your survival. You don't need to worry about that when you're trying to shift to a whole new timeline. There is no use you running the same old neural pathways in that left hemisphere of this, and this, because that all needs to be let go. You have to drop completely the way that you've been looking and thinking about things. You have to drop the old story. You have to drop the old reality. You have to drop the old identity. So the minute that you feel yourself light up in your body and get divine inspiration to do something or to create something or to take a certain action or to think about a certain idea, do not let logic come in and crash your party. It's only there to keep you surviving in your current reality. That's not your concern anymore. You're going over here. You're leaving, so it doesn't matter. You don't need that logic to come in. So your logic is going to go, oh my God, hey, that doesn't make sense because this is what we've experienced physically. So hey, it's not going to work. You say, shut the fuck up. I'm the creator being and I decide and I'm going over here. So I don't actually need you parroting in my ear because that literally won't make sense actually at all from when I go over here. And remember this, your logic mind, it's actually very illogical to be listening to your logic because your logic is basing advice and things and concerns and fears and doubts and insecurities off everything it's perceived in the material world so far. That's less than 1% of what exists. Whereas your intuition, your right hemisphere, your creative being part of yourself is connected to the 99%, the unseen. It's your imagination. It's where you can play in the spiritual realm. So it's actually more logical to listen to the part of you that's connected to almost everything than to listen to the part of you that's only basing its advice off less than 1% of what exists. Remember that next time your logic comes in and tries to talk you out of something that your imaginative, creative self is lighting up about. Do not allow that to happen. Intuition, inspired action, creativity, imagination are the languages of God, and they're going to take you places that your current logic could never ever figure out. So stop listening to it. People have it backwards. You actually need to allow the delusion, allow the creativity and the just playing in your desire, I like to call it. Just play in your desire. Allow yourself to dream. Allow yourself to imagine. Allow yourself to just act as if you already have it, even though you can't see it physically. When you do that and you allow yourself to actually just hold your desire without talking yourself out of it because it's not logical. When you don't interrupt that playing with your desire with logic and you actually allow yourself to hold it in your being and in your body, it'll grow, it'll actually adjust, and it'll actually sink into your being where you'll actually accept it. And then your logic mind will shift. And then you'll get the exact how. But don't let logic come in first because it will kill it before it can even sink in for you, okay? So you see what I did there? I flipped it. You can't just come in with logic straight away. Your old logic is not gonna figure out how to get to this new thing. You have to allow yourself to be delusional, allow yourself to have that which you cannot see yet, allow yourself to believe that you are the creator being, which means you can have anything. And allow yourself to hold that desire and not try to make sense of it. And later on, when it sinks in for you, when you allow yourself to just have it anyway, regardless of your external circumstances, then the logic and the how will come in, okay? Then we have identity. In order to shift completely into the identity of the person, the version of you in your desired reality that exists right now, you first have to let go and take your attachment out of this identity that you have been. Easier said than done because our brains think it's safe to keep going as we've always been. It is very, very difficult to fully sink into a new version of you when you're so attached to the old version of you. So I'm going to tell you to do something that I've probably said in every video that I've ever made, and I will just keep saying until probably I'm blue in the face or the day that I die. Meditate. For the love of God, meditate. Literally, for the love of God, meditate. Sit in silence and let go. Until you do that, you're not going to be able to shift completely into this new version of you because you're still going to be attached to your old identity in the ways that you think, in the ways that you act, in the ways that you respond, in the ways that you do everything. It all feeds into your identity and who you are. You're running an autopilot identity at the moment, and you think that's just who you are. You're so in it that you can't see it. When you sit in silence and you slowly but surely start to detach and release your attachments from all your thoughts and everything, you begin to realize that you're not that identity, you're consciousness. And now you can take that consciousness back from that identity that you've been feeding into for your whole life, and you can finally see all these other possibilities, and you can select a new one and put your consciousness into that. But first, you have to sit in the unknown, the scary, scary thing that is just sitting in silence. Do you know when you first start meditating, it is scary. I know it's scary. Even if I take a week off, it's scary. I go to sit down and I'm like, no. That's why I just try not to take a week off anymore. But you will be, for the first 5 minutes, maybe for the first 5 days, your mind is just going to be in your thoughts thinking, oh my God, this is who I am. This person hates me. I have this bill to pay, da 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 da. And thinking from the level of mind of this old identity. You're going to be just thinking the same old thoughts, firing the same old neural pathways. But after some time, slowly but surely, the observer consciousness gets stronger, and you're able to lean back into that and come out of this identity self, this lower level self, playing this version of reality. And you're finally able to see, I am not that thought, and I am not just that identity. It's just an identity that I've been playing that's been having those thoughts, but it's not who I am. I'm the observer. And that's when you get your power back. So that's how you shift identities. You can do a lot of assisting work with, you know, journaling or taking certain actions, whatever, and that can help you shift into another identity. However, if you don't take that first step and just sit back and become an observer again of your thoughts, you're never going to realize that you're separate. You're never going to actually be able to see yourself as beyond how you have been. So you won't be able to align with a new self. So sit down every day for 10 minutes in silence, and your whole life will change. All right, last point, because this is getting kind of long. Resistance. Guys, I did a quantum shift last week, and it was so powerful. I've never felt a click like that before. I did the practice similar to what we did a minute ago, where I visualized the portal and I stepped through, and I did it for a little bit longer, and it was super intense, and I felt a massive shift. And then it was followed by a lot of challenges and internal blockers. Let me tell you something. When you demand something, when you make an energetic shift, when you make an identity shift, when you tap into a new version of you in a new reality, and you really focus on having and holding that state of being and having that be real for you, things are going to start shifting in your external world really fast. But they're going to shift in ways that you don't expect, okay? And this is the part where people fail. This is where the whole thing is going to fall apart for you if you don't pay attention. So when you ask for something and you do the work properly and you really shift and you feel and you say, I allow myself to have it, and you allow yourself feeling like you have it, like the practice we just did, it is going to create an energetic shift, and it's going to be very strong if you do it properly. Then things are going to start happening, but it's never going to be in the way that you expect. It's never, ever going to be in the way that you expect. What's going to happen is it's going to unfold in a way where it's going to align your energy and thoughts to then correspond with the physical experience that you have been aligning with, okay? So you essentially really, it's on a grand scale, you're going to be doing a lot of the legwork in terms of this and this, right? That's kind of within your wheelhouse. When you do this exercise where you're imagining stepping through the portal and just being that version and how they feel, these things are going to become clear. Like, how do I show up? What beliefs could I change? So those are your physical and your mental. But on an energetic level, you could have massive traumas or emotional blockages that are internal in your energy being that are preventing you from resonating and corresponding with your desired reality. The version of you that's in your parallel desired reality does not house the same unconscious parts, traumas, triggers, and emotions that this version of you does. So when you do this shift, and you embody this energy, you're going to come out of the practice and you're going to go about your day, and you're going to have shit thrown at you more than likely if you have stuff in your energy field that needs to go, that is going to clear that stuff from your energy field. And this may look like your shadow getting triggered. More than likely, I'm not trying to manifest something for you, but if you've got unresolved trauma that doesn't correspond with where you're trying to go, you best believe things are going to happen to trigger that trauma so you can clear it, so you can go over there, okay? And you're going to fail if you don't realize that this is all part of the plan. People fail when they think, oh my God, this is so bad, and they get lost in the trigger. They zoom in, they get so obsessed with what's happening, what's wrong, oh my God, and they get so lost in the trigger that they don't see that this is all part of the divine plan. You're being shown this so you can shift. So if this is happening to you, because this happened to me, and it recently happened with a client of mine. We both did a similar quantum shift thing at the same time, and immediately after she said, hey, my deepest fears are coming up, and I was like, yeah girl, same, literally the worst week ever, because I was in my core traumas. But that's because this is such a massive shift for me, that these big massive blockages had to go. And I can't tell you what having that perspective can do for you. It's not that something is wrong, it's that you're being guided to go exactly where you're asking to go. It's just happening in a way that you wouldn't have planned or seen. You can't see it because you've got a limited perception, you've got a human perception, but the divine all-knowing mind is guiding you and showing you hey, look, this is what needs to happen now. If you've said you wanted to go here, you're gonna have to release this. And I'm sorry, it's gonna be painful, but on the other side, you get exactly what you want. So do not resist. Absolutely nothing can resist a non-resistant person. You must be like water. Whatever happens after you do this shift, just let it be. Flow through it. It's happening exactly as it needs to prepare you to become the person, the version of you in that parallel reality. So do not resist. Remember, you are so much more than your physical body, than your thoughts. You are consciousness, you are infinite, you are connected to everything, and nothing that is happening is random. So keep that higher awareness, keep that perspective, and keep recommitting to tuning into the version of you. So you're almost priming as this version of you, showing up as that version. You can picture and imagine that reality, picture and imagine that version, and then imagine stepping into that version. Do it over and over and over again. Don't let logic come in. Don't get addicted to your old self again. And do not, under any circumstances, resist whatever comes up that needs to be cleared. Those are the traps, and if you can avoid them, you are going to get there so fast, your head's going to spin.